This is Stephen from TaxSupport.com. I want to make a quick video for you about some commercial properties that are coming up for sale right now. And at the end of the video, I'm going to show you a property that was worth nearly $2 million that nobody even bidded on at about 160. So there's all kinds of great opportunities in commercial real estate right now in tax sale investing. We're going to go ahead and go over a few of these properties. I was actually not going to mention this, but I actually recorded this entire video and was going to upload it. And then I realized that I didn't even show you my screen. I'm getting ready for a 3-day training that we're going to be teaching our students tomorrow. And I was going over some of this information, decided, you know what, I'm going to make a quick YouTube video on some of this. Is kind of interesting. And then we're recording it now. So hopefully the second time is better than the first. But let's go ahead and let's look at a couple of properties in 3 different states valued at around $1 million or more. Now this here is really an interesting property. This is a property that's coming up for sale right now. Now you can see that it's obviously, even looking at the map here, we're talking about a big property, big piece of land, and then we can also see multiple housing units, buildings there on this particular property. Now we were actually showing this with some of our coaching students, and Shade mentioned that he thinks it's a military base, and I have to agree with him. I think it was something like that. But when we talk about the different types of tax deeds that we're going to be looking at tonight, this obviously isn't for everyone. But when we're talking about this type of investment strategy, we're talking about people that are creative, that are looking at creative ways that they can make money in real estate. You know, tax sale investing isn't for the normal type of person. If you were a normal type of person right now, you'd probably just be trying to do regular real estate investing. Tax sale investing is for the type of people that are creative and looking for good ways to make money and get good deals. So let's look a little bit more into this. Now, one thing that's very helpful about this particular county is they're providing photos of the property. Now, that's a huge benefit, obviously. And let's go ahead and look at a few of them. Now, right here, we can see that there's a number of different multiple buildings on it. Now, when you're thinking of creative real estate strategies, what could we do with this property? Well, maybe it could be used as a group home or a rehab or a school. You know, this is obviously isn't for everyone, but for the right creative investor, there's these type of opportunities out there that, you know, right now it's at 100 grand. There's a week or two left. We'll see what it goes up to. But there's obviously a huge amount of assets on this property, and it really could be used for something. Yeah, multiple, just tons of buildings. And these photos give us a good idea of the condition. And this is really above and beyond. They even have kind of a booth there. That's part of what Shay thought it was, maybe a military base. Now, the one thing that's more interesting about commercial property versus regular real estate, something like a lot or a home, is that there's some type of business connected to it, which means that we can look into these records and find out a lot more about it. In fact, that's something that we teach our students and our members how to do, is to be able to look into these type of commercial properties, where we might even be able to see when this property was in business last, interior photos at the time. So there's a lot more information about commercial property that as tax sale investors we can research to make a good informed decision. Now, it looks like the value the county's assessed on it is $1 million. You know, market value, maybe it's $1 million, maybe it's worth $2 million. You know, that's really where we need to get into the actual market value, and would do it a little bit different on something like this, on a tax deed like this, a commercial piece, because it's kind of residential, right? It's kind of commercial, and it would need to be used for the right type of business. But if you were a creative real estate investor and you knew private schools, someone that could utilize this, and you were able to pick it up for 100, 150 grand, turn around and sell it for $1 million, $2 million, maybe some type of charity, you know, there's a huge amount of possibilities for something like this. You know, we can also get an idea of the Google outline, which is obviously very similar to the GIS map. Now, this particular one doesn't have any type of street side view. That's something we would always check, but you know, we could do our due diligence. This is a property available right now. Now let's look at a property that sold. This here is a property in New York. The last one we were looking at was in Minnesota. This one here is an office building. It's also a huge manufacturing warehouse. It was built in 1982. It's about 1,400 square foot on one of them. The other property was built in 1984, 18,000 square feet. It's on 6.5 acres. And let's look at the photos. Again, this county is providing photos. One thing that we do for our membership is we have an auction calendar where we have all of these auctions that are taking place right there on the calendar. So instead of you trying to look and find, where does this auction taking place right now, you can go ahead and look at our auction calendar and see all of these different deals that are taking place. So again, we can go through all of these photos. Makes us really helps us make an informed decision on, is this going to be a good investment or not? We're always also looking at the property and evaluating what we can see. So here we can see that, some of it's been boarded up. Really, as tax sale investors, we are real estate detectives. We're talking about creative real estate here. And we've got to take the information that we can see and make a good informed decision about it. One thing that we know that this is a more current photo is that we can see the sign right here from the county marketing as a tax sale. In fact, in New York, many times these are done by auction houses. So this is actually an auction house sign, and this auction house sells the county inventory. In many states like New York, that's how it's done, which means that there's, a dozen different auction houses in New York that have their tax sale auctions. We get all of those different auctions, put them together on our auction calendar, our online auction tabs, so that these different sales are taking place. Now let's get into a little bit more of the details. It ended up selling for $158,000. In fact, I need to go through and we need to look at some more of these photos. I'm rushing. So here we can see that there's some type of big, I'm not sure what that is, but when we're talking about something like this, is there value in scrapping that? In fact, I've talked to investors and know of investors that have purchased different types of structures like this and were able to get so much from the cost in or the value in the materials, whether that be brick, whether that be metal, where it paid for the demo. In fact, they made money off that and then also had the value of the land. And so again, it's about being a creative type real estate investor. We can see that it's on a really big piece of land. And again, we can go through and really get an idea of the condition of it. This isn't as good as sending an inspector over there, obviously, but it really can make us help make us an informed decision on, is this a good buy or not? There again, we can go down and look at the street view, see when this was taken, 2023. And let's show you one last property. This one here had no sale in Pennsylvania at $166,000 opening bid. Now it's valued at almost $1.8 million. We can see that it's on 0.66 of an acre. And again, we have a county photo. Now we're always going to do an on-site evaluation on anything like this. In fact, it's something that we teach in our membership, is how do I go through and do an on-site evaluation on structured property? What is the easiest way to do it? And, in this case, would still do an on-site evaluation for most of these that have on-site photos. We're still going to check because something could have happened between when this photo was taken and when the actual auction takes place, but it helps us know, is it worth going out there or sending somebody out there to get current photos? I always say in tax sale properties, we have to judge the book by the cover. Now we've got some, in some of these auctions, we're looking inside the book a little bit, right? We're seeing these interior photos that really help us make informed decisions. But we're talking about 3 different properties here in 3 different states that sold or didn't sell for 20 cents on the dollar. And so for those investors that are looking to get into commercial property, there's not a cheaper way to be able to do it than through tax sale investing. And so even if the commercial market softens, if you pick up these properties for cheap enough, when the market rebounds, this is where you've picked up at such a low price. And so that's something to look at when we're talking about commercial properties. Of course, there's usually going to be more risk than rentals. And so it's important that we make informed decisions. But I hope this was interesting for you guys. I'm going to go ahead and post this video. And if you like what we do, go ahead and check out our website, taxsaleinvesting.com. Also, go ahead and give us a thumbs up if you like this video. We're going to be putting out a lot more content for 2026. I'm going to put out some content. Shade's going to put out some content. We're going to put out some content together. And we want to take you guys kind of through our process in working with our students, in working with deals, and showing you kind of how we do it, and also show some of our student success as well. We've been on YouTube since 2007. So we've been doing this a long time. We love teaching investors how to be able to use tax sale investing. And then we also teach other strategies as well. We talk about probates. We talk about, in fact, we're looking at some bankruptcy auction properties in an auction that's taking place right now with some of our coaching students. So there is literally hundreds of these auctions taking place each month. And for investors that have the time and that are willing to go through and become a property detective, essentially, you need to do the due diligence to make sure that you can do a good investment. Me and Shade see people all the time that lose money in tax sale investing because they didn't do the due diligence. Now, luckily, this isn't our membership, but as we head out and we attend live auctions, we see investors that we're bidding against, or investors that we're not bidding because we drove past that property and we knew that there's a tree, that's fallen over on it. So if you like what we do, please go ahead and check us out. We appreciate you watching this video, and if you have any questions, ask them in the comments section. Over the next little bit, either Shade or myself will go ahead and answer all of those questions personally. And also, over the next 30 days, any new student that joins the membership program, we're going to give you a free ticket to the next time we do a 2-day online workshop. And so if you're interested, this is going to be for just the next 30 days. Any student that signs up for the membership, whether that be the year membership or the monthly membership, the year membership, it's only $29 a month. And the ticket itself is worth $200 or $300. So if you're interested, go ahead and check out our membership program. That's going to give you access to everything. And please follow us. We're going to be putting out some great content, great videos about different ways you can make money in tax sale investing and other strategies. So please go ahead and subscribe, and thanks again